I have witnessed an interesting phenomenon. Providing more evidence in an effort to change someone's belief often made them less likely to believe it. As it turns out, there's a name for this. It's called the Backfire Effect.
Put that coffee down.
Creators are leaders. Be careful what kind of leaders you're producing here.
Helen, we're both in sales.
Let me tell you why I suck as a salesman.
They realized that to be in power, you didn't need guns or money or even numbers. You just needed the will to do what the other guy wouldn't.
I'm not leaving. The show goes on.
Well, hello there, friend. Welcome to the Construction Leadership Podcast. I am your host, Bradley Hartman, and on this show, we deliver ideas and insights from leaders across the construction industry every single week to help you lead more effectively. I'd like to thank our presenting sponsor, Capital One Trade Credit. If you, my friend, are interested in growing top-line revenue while decreasing risk, that's right, those things can happen at the same time. Revenue up, risk down. It's a beautiful thing. How? By leveraging a state-of-the-art digital platform that makes it easier for your customers to buy from you. That sounds interesting. If it sounds enticing, well, take the next step. What are you doing? Just Google Capital One Trade Credit and see if it's a fit for you. Now, my neighbor, a fellow sports nut, peered at me with a look that combined equal measures of disgust and incomprehension. My neighbor said, so at the end of LeBron James's career, even if he has more championship rings, more MVP awards, he wins more games and scores more points and grabs more rebounds and dishes out more assists than Michael Jordan, even then, you will not consider LeBron better than Jordan. Is that correct? For effect, I let that linger a little bit. I took a little swig of my beer, and then I said, yes, that is exactly how I felt. And here's why. Jordan was 6-0 in the NBA Finals and was the MVP in every single one. 6 for 6. Now, LeBron will have lost at least five finals by the time he's done. Now, I exclaimed this and I jumped up and I accidentally launched my drink into the air and it landed with a splat on my friend's deck. So, regardless of any hypothetical future evidence to the contrary, my friend screamed, by cherry-picking the one stat LeBron cannot obtain, you will now determine that Michael Jordan will always be better. Is that right? I nodded my head quietly, and I acknowledged that human beings are irrational. Whether we are arguing about hypothetical sports scenarios or facts with verifiable source material, human beings often struggle with changing their minds in light of new evidence. When we are helping clients, whether those are executives or their frontline employees, whether it's teaching people how to sell more effectively or learn construction Spanish, I have witnessed an interesting phenomenon. Providing more evidence in an effort to change someone's belief often made them less likely to believe it. As it turns out, there's a name for this. It's called the Backfire Effect. The Backfire Effect posits that when your deepest beliefs are challenged by contradictory information or evidence, your beliefs become stronger. Not weaker, your beliefs become stronger. When new evidence comes to light and is shoved in your face to show that you're wrong, what do? Yep, you double down. You don't change your mind. You hang on to your beliefs even stronger than before. So this poses a frightening question. Could your leadership efforts be making things worse? So as we strive to change the thoughts and behaviors and, dare I say, the hearts and minds of those around us so they align with our goals and our objectives, how can we do so without inadvertently inciting the backfire effect? Well, here are 4 ways. Number 1, increase awareness. I first learned of the backfire effect from this wonderful little cartoon from this website called The Oatmeal. I know, weird name, valuable information, at least in the sample size of 1. By simply understanding the existence of the backfire effect, it may help you identify it in others and yourself. So in the cartoon from the oatmeal, there's these two very circular birds that are standing on this tree limb, and one leans over and whispers to the other, "I'm going to tell you some things." Why do we not only ignore this evidence, but dig our heels in deeper and believe more strongly in the opposing argument? Why would providing more evidence make someone less likely to believe in an idea? And for a deeper dive on the Backfire Effect, there's a trio. That's right, there's three 30-minute episodes on the Backfire Effect on this really good podcast that I'd follow. I'd recommend it to a friend. It is called the You Are Not So Smart podcast.
This episode is the first of 3 shows about something called the Backfire Effect, a well-documented and much-studied psychological phenomenon that you've likely encountered quite a bit lately.
So there's number 1. Be aware that there's something called the Backfire Effect. Ideally, look for it in other people, and maybe, if you get a minute, look for it in yourself. Number 2, avoid or sandwich the myth. John Cook and Stephen Lewandowski, I may or may not be pronouncing that correctly, but we're going to move on. They published a paper called The Debunking Handbook, and it's a how-to guide to overcoming the Backfire Effect. Their first recommendation is to avoid the myth altogether. So don't state the myth you are trying to debunk. So if someone is saying, no, it's an absolute fact, I believe it, I know it to be true, I've seen it myself, that the Great Wall of China is visible from space, quit naming the myth altogether. Quit referring to the Great Wall of China. Don't even bring it up. And whatever you do, do not use it as a title on a PowerPoint slide. If it's impossible to avoid, strategically sandwich the myth in between core facts and an explanation of how the myth misleads people into believing it. So as an example, you might say, here's a core fact, all right? It's just general. We are not identifying the myth. And then we're going to give another little layer in this little burger we're making here. That's also a fact. And then the third element there, you're going to slide in the myth, and then you're going to explain how the myth misleads people. So that's number 2. Avoid the myth altogether, or if you can't, sandwich it. Fact, supporting fact, identify the myth, and then explain how the myth misleads. Number 3, don't use every bullet in the chamber. The rule here is just don't overdo it. So if you have like 6 reasons that this argument, whether it's about whether or not you can see the Great Wall of China from space or anything else, force rank them in order of impact and select the top 3. Piling on more evidence can trigger the backfire effect. So if you got like 12 really good reasons on why the person is an idiot who thinks they can see the Great Wall of China from space, don't go with all 12. Identify 3, maybe 4, and just call it quits. The more you pile on, the more this can trigger the backfire effect. And number 4, use graphics. Cook and Lewandowski recommend using graphics to display the core facts. They're easier to remember than facts alone. So know that beliefs that form part of our identity, who we are, what sort of groups we consider that we belong to, whether they're cultural, religious, or especially as we go through another round of a political season, these things are more likely to trigger the backfire effect. So, convincing someone that the Great Wall of China is actually not visible from space. Now, it's long. It's ridiculously long. It's over 13,000 miles long, which I did not know. I knew it was long, but 13,000 miles? That's crazy. However, it's less than 20 feet wide. How many things from space can you see that are 20 feet wide? Answer: 0. Anyway, convincing someone the Great Wall of China is actually not visible from space will be far easier to debunk than, say, your impromptu legal research supporting your belief in either direction in Donald Trump or Biden or whoever in their potential obstruction of justice with the DOJ. However, look for the backfire effect in less obvious situations. While your recommendation for a small modification to this process or that process, it may seem benign to you, there may be a corporate cultural impact. Hey man, we've always done it this way and we've been really successful. This is part of our differentiation. Jerry. Remember Jerry? Jerry was great. He's the one who invented this process. All of these things may trigger the backfire effect among your peers. Now, is it possible that your 88-page slide deck bursting with supporting data could be causing your colleagues to strengthen their existing beliefs? Is it possible that is the cause of resistance to your idea? Or this resistance that you're seeing from your colleagues or your subcontractors or your client, is it possible their resistance to your idea is the result of the backfire effect? Now, I'll tell you, my neighbor and I, we don't talk basketball anymore. We have been debating football ever since I shared my firm belief that despite scoring 54 fewer touchdowns and rushing for 1,629 fewer yards than Emmitt Smith, Walter Payton of the Chicago Bears is obviously the greatest running back of all time. And quite frankly, I've been doing a lot of research and I've been building my argument. And I'm pretty sure I can change his mind. As always, thank you for listening. Think of the backfire effect and how it might be in place in your environment, personally and professionally. Once I started looking for this, I saw it all over the place, most often with myself. So thanks for listening. I want to thank our presenting sponsor, Capital One Trade Credit. If you want to grow your top line revenue while decreasing risk, while leveraging a state-of-the-art digital platform to make it easier for your customers to buy from you, please Google Capital One Trade Credit. That's all we've got for today. We're going to close out with our leadership mantra. You, my friend, are owed nothing. Deliver value first.